Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of GnWC Weekly. I'm the Duke, and I'm joined by my good buddy.
Burt Macklin, FBI.
No, that's Angry Larry. And that was a really quick one.
Johnny Karate.
Oh, still Angry Larry. You got anything else?
Bye, little Sebastian.
All right, so we're going to get into what's happened since Fastlane and what we expect on the actual road to WrestleMania now that we're past Fastlane, because now it's actually the road to WrestleMania. That always annoys me, you know. After Royal Rumble is the road to WrestleMania. Not really, it's the road to the next pay-per-view. But anyway, tonight it is...
Well, no, everyone points to the sign. It's the road to pointing to the sign.
Yeah, the road to sign.
Why is it called Fastlane and not like backstretch?
Oh, that's kind of good.
Or Royal Rumble should be backstretch, and then Fastlane should be turn 4.
So NASCAR terms?
Yeah, Daytona 500 was this weekend, so I'm kind of a NASCAR fan until they go, and then I lose interest.
Well, it is Thursday night, the 25th of February. I'm trying to say the word correctly instead of how everyone says it. 2016. And we are...
Hey, what are you doing with your extra day in February, by the way? Here's what you should do.
The same thing I do every day.
Here's what you should do. You should take a day to reflect and then figure out what the Spirit musical compilation album inside you is. You could go on YouTube if you want and search them. I mean, you might be a Freedom Rock guy because you're from the South, or a Kids Bop guy because you have a kid. But I don't know. Maybe you're like that's what I call music volume 36 kind of guy, I would think, right? 37.
So my mixtape Spirit Animal is what I'm going with.
Yeah, CD compilation. It's either CD compilation Spirit Animal or 2 cassette tape Spirit compilation Spirit Animal.
Oh, that's so good.
No CODs.
It's a great idea.
I'm actually Ultimate Dance Party 1997 myself.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you for a second.
Or Fired Up too. I can name about 20 songs from Ultimate Dance Party 97, or about like 13, since there's probably only 14 on the album.
This is the weirdest open we've ever done, and I love it. Speaking of opens, no news and notes this week, right?
No news and notes, because this is what's going to happen, guys. I'm going to research news and notes, and I'm going to stumble across something that's going to ruin WrestleMania for myself and for the Duke, because I'm going to be so upset I'm going to share it with him.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Be something like somebody's going to be debuting at WrestleMania. Somebody's going to be coming up from NXT at WrestleMania. Or rumor is these people are going to be working WrestleMania. And I'd rather just, if it is going to be a surprise, I'd rather be surprised by it than not surprised by it. I don't care if I ruin like Payback for myself or Extreme Rules, but I don't want to ruin WrestleMania for myself. So we're going to go a little bit dark on the news and notes until WrestleMania is over.
I'm with you. Yeah.
By the way, I have news and notes, Duke. And first news item is Payback, I think, might have been canceled or renamed.
Hey,
No, seriously, they're moving up Extreme Rules.
Oh, really?
Payback would be. I think Payback was going to be the pay-per-view after WrestleMania, and I think it's now Extreme Rules. I believe that's the only news and notes item that I know of.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder if
I believe it's in.
Could be related to Dean Ambrose, maybe, but we'll see. Like, he becomes the king of Extreme or something like that after his Brock match. But,
is this like
this
like Raw versus SmackDown 2006, which is going to make up titles?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I wasn't saying he would actually have a title. I'm just saying,
okay.
People would start calling him things like that, or he'd call himself that in a promo, and then, they put it on 6 T-shirts. And
Dean Ambrose would probably be a monster
stop saying
ballads
it.
guy.
What's that?
I think Dean Ambrose would probably be monster ballads. Probably really rock out to singing like whatever. Damn Yankees, can you take me high enough? With the high notes and everything, that'd be awesome.
We're still on the CD comp, huh?
Oh, believe me, when we're done with this, I'm going to be on YouTube for like 4 hours watching them.
Oh man! So
speaking
since we're not
of
really
watching them, Duke.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me take control here and ask you what your thoughts on Fastlane were.
It wasn't that good. The matches were good. Let me back up. So I shouldn't do that because that's kind of what I've heard other people say, and it's not really how I felt. I thought the show was fine. I didn't think it was anything extraordinary, and I definitely had the same feeling after that show as I did after I forget which one it was. Was it
SummerSlam?
Yes, thank you. Nothing changed. Like,
nothing changed.
Just nothing changed. And it was just so, like, what was the point of this show? And I forgot to put this in my notes, but I'll just mention it real quick right now. Why not, if you're going to do garbage like that, and I don't mean garbage, I just mean it as a generic term, not necessarily that it was something that needed to be thrown away. But if you're going to do stuff like that, why don't you just make Raw the minor pay-per-views? And I don't mean just do those matches on Raw, even though that happens over and over again. And that kind of supports my point. A lot of times you see better versions of those matches on Raw.
Even with the commercial break this month.
What's that?
I said even with the commercial break this month.
Yeah, exactly. Or SmackDown or whatever. I guess that is the draw of it, is you don't have a commercial in the middle of it, but at the same time, it's just like, man, when we get better quality matches on the weekly shows than we do a lot of times at these minor pay-per-views, and sometimes even at major ones like SummerSlam, then I don't know why you don't just say Raw presents Fastlane.
TNA does that.
Yeah, I know, and I guess it would look
lockdown or whatever,
Yeah, and maybe that's the number one reason why WWE would never do it, is because TNA is doing it, so it looked like they're copying the inferior competition at that point. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's kind of something that I kept mulling over that night. The wrestling wasn't bad for the most part. And by the way, if you want to hear a better breakdown than we're going to do right here, you need to listen to Larry's Armbar. That was his reaction show. So we'll put a link on the screen.
tinyurl.com/Angry Larry Gaming.
or we'll put it right there in the description down below. So
I'll type it right now.
You're not even really typing.
I was typing. I was keyboard noises. I don't know what window I was typing in, though. I got to find that, but go ahead.
So besides the fact that TNA did it first, I think that would be a great use of, that TV time. That is where you're putting all your actual thought into is the booking of Raw. Now, the other side of that is, but then you get things like what happened on Raw. And it reminded me so much of, was it TLC, where it was just like Raw was like the do-over. That's where we called it, No,
I thought it was SummerSlam also, because the next day we had all the rematches, I thought.
Well, no, TLC was where
TLC
everything, it felt like stories actually progressed and things. That was where the Wyatts won against the ECW originals, which made no sense.
And then they beat him again.
And then the ECW original. Oh wait. No. No, it was the other way around, wasn't it? It was the ECW originals won in.
No, because it was elimination, and the Wyatts won like 3-0, 3-1.
Oh right. You're right. But then the next night, did the ECW originals win? I thought they lost.
No, they lost. The ECW originals lost again. Are we arguing the same side?
I just said I thought they lost.
Yeah. That's why I kind of confused myself.
Yeah, because Rowan ended up going over in that match. I remember that. So I don't remember what
Rowan
it was.
Was the only one eliminated, and then he was the one winning the next night.
Right. Oh, I remember what it was. There were actual table spots. Like the table spots sucked at TLC, and then it was an actual legitimate. There were legitimate table spots in the one on Raw. That's what it was. It was the match we expected to see. That's what it was. So, and then the Wyatts didn't go over in a lame way. It was it all flowed. It all made sense. So more was put into that match and making that match memorable and worth watching than there was on the SummerSlam match. Anyway, or TLC. Sorry.
Yeah.
But then, and there were other things. But we ended up, when we did our show that week, we said TLC was basically, or Raw that week was basically 6 hours of TLC, because you saw some of the same stuff and you saw actual story progression.
I think, honestly,
you're transposing things.
Yeah, because I remember this vividly, because SummerSlam was 4 hours this year. That we said that SummerSlam was 7 hours.
Oh,
it was
okay.
4 hours on the pay-per-view, 3 hours on Raw. Not to say that the Raw after TLC wasn't more or less
similar.
The same. I can't remember it though for some reason. I remember SummerSlam.
I just remember I only remember the Dudleys or the ECW versus Wyatts. That's really all I remember.
Yeah, we had that
TLC.
rematch, but I think we've had like a rematch on every single freaking pay-per-view. We even had one this week too.
Yeah,
when it went back, I don't remember.
But it wasn't really about whatever it is that I'm thinking about, which is most likely SummerSlam, like you're saying. It's that something actually moved forward on Raw, and nothing moved forward the night before on the big pay-per-view.
Right.
Now, I get that Fastlane isn't big, but it followed the same pattern, and it's just like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's just like they see how pissed off people are. Is this what it is? Do they see how pissed off people are, and they're like, all right, we got to start pulling these wild cards and throw them at people on Raw, and that'll get people to tune into Raw, and blah, blah, blah. Then we'll have them again or something like that. I don't know, but...
So what is your overall grade for Fastlane?
C at best.
C at best, right? Because
the wrestling was fantastic, just nothing
The wrestling was good, but nothing happened.
Yeah.
No one interjected themselves. There was no real progression on any story except... we found out who a number one contender was.
And as much as I try to give the commentary team the benefit of the doubt at times, it was pretty bad on this one, except for Morrow in the kickoff.
How big of a tease was that, man?
I know.
Oh, you didn't watch the pre-show?
No, I did. I saw the end of it.
But he was there and the pre-show. After you heard JBL's ring entrance in the background as the panel's still talking.
Oh, right.
They kicked it down to the team, and it was Morrow, and I'm like, holy crap. All of a sudden, this pay-per-view has a big fight feel to it. He's going to be announcing it. And then after he announced the Del Rio Kalisto match, and then they went into the pay-per-view, and Michael Cole was there, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
And I don't hate on Cole as much as other
I
people
don't either,
do.
But Morrow is Morrow.
Yeah, well, he's a play-by-play guy. See, that's the thing. I think that's one of the biggest things people forget about Cole, and this is just a quick bunny trail. I think that's one of the biggest things people forget about Cole. He was part of the announce team. He was never a play-by-play guy. He didn't come up as a play-by-play guy. He came up as a backstage interview guy, and the guy that The Rock made fun of, and one of the many guys that The Rock made fun of all the time and stuff like that. So, and that's not to make excuses or whatever, because ultimately it's on, well, how about this? It's not to make excuses for how the commentary team comes across, but it does explain how WWE kind of screwed that up, because they put a guy that put a ton of work in on the desk. And that's all well and good, but at some point, and as we're seeing with SmackDown, they're doing it. At some point, you have to put a guy who can actually call the matches, not just, be at the behest of every single commercial spot that they need done. Cole is a great guy for that. He's just not a great guy for calling the match. I mean, he's great. He's great at telling the story before and after a match. Yeah. He's not good at calling the match.
Right. He's not a hold per hold guy, but I mean, on his best days, he's okay and entertaining and keeping the flow going. And I think the same people who bury Cole now behind the desk, they're keyboard warriors. Keyboard warriors, they're Jim. That's Terry Funk, by the way.
Yeah.
They were praising Cole and Taz on SmackDown
Funk,
back in the day, saying how much better they were than the Raw team. The same people.
Yeah, right.
Would,
right.
Stuff like that. But you know how that goes in the world of wrestling fans. Here is my
and the internet in general,
yeah. We day and age of anonymity, so we can say anything we want anytime we want.
Yep.
And being such, I'm doing the same right now when I say that I liked Fastlane kind of like you in terms of, I felt every match was okay. Nothing really like I got good feelings out of every match, let's say.
Sure.
And there wasn't a single match where it was just like even Axel versus Truth. I was happy the guys were out there, I wasn't like, if we get a Bow Train, I'm ecstatic right now. But when it comes down to it, you said it, I've said it for months now, if not more so in the recent month. When you have repeating matches on Raw, SmackDown, and then a pay-per-view, you're going to compare them. And if the pay-per-view one is not the best one there absolutely is in the series, then you're going to say, well, why are these guys wrestling?
Yeah.
Why? I'm tired of seeing these guys. I'm seeing them now, and it's only the second best match of the 4 they had. It's only the 4th best match of the 7 they had in the last 2 months.
Or it's nearly the worst or something
It's
like
nearly
that.
the worst, and that's probably the worst example, because that is the worst example, because now you're coming off of that match. Like, even if it was good in its own vacuum, like as a standalone match, you kind of just like, I saw it before, and I saw it with a commercial, and it was more entertaining. Like, how is that possible? For
Yeah,
all the
and
times we knock Raw for going to commercial during the matches to
right.
hold you over for the completion of the match, how is a pay-per-view match without a commercial not better than the match with the commercial
Right.
in your eyes as a wrestling fan? And that's what happens most of these times.
And that's
As
really
good as the match can
you're
be,
spot
and as
on.
fair as we can be to the competitors in the match, because we're not doing it, they are. It's just you compare. It's human nature. You're going to say they wrestled on Raw, they're wrestling on the pay-per-view. Okay, which one was better? The Raw one. Well, that's why this pay-per-view sucked, because that match wasn't good.
Yeah,
Well, no,
and
not really.
you're
It was
spot
good.
on. You're spot on that it's become in a lot of cases where the only difference between the match you see on a pay-per-view, other than quality, the only difference is there's no commercial. Like, that's the only production difference, is that there's no commercial. Well, that doesn't make, as you're saying, not to belabor the point, but as you're saying, that doesn't make up for the fact that it's not the best match we see of that series. It doesn't become better just because there's no commercial. If anything, like you said, it exaggerates the problem. So
Yeah, I mean, with the commercial, maybe they're just rushing their spots in the second segment of that match, and then in a pay-per-view, they're drawing it out throughout the whole match, and then someone can see it as being slow and boring, while in Raw, it's nice and tight and fast and compact and exciting.
right.
And then there's your difference right there for anybody who's going to judge a match based on, spots, quality of spots, and quantity of spots. Let me ask you this question, though, because we're going to go right to the elephant in the room here.
Okay.
Transitioning into Raw.
Okay.
Did you like the ending of Raw? Knowing
Yes.
what you probably know about what happened,
Yeah.
do you like the ending of Raw?
Yes and no. I mean, I thought it was sort of a punctuation on the whole night, honestly, where it's, hey, we're sort of we're gonna mess with this a little bit and make it a little Attitude Era esque, because we know, from a business standpoint, we know we have to do that going into WrestleMania to get more people watching.
Yes.
So we're gonna push the envelope as far as we can. We're going to make sure someone's ready on the dump button when Vince drops an F-bomb on the mic and stuff like that. From the beginning of the night to the end, there were little things here and there where they were it was sort of throwback, and it's not necessarily bad throwback, but it's not something we should expect to see. I don't think it's something we should expect to see permanently, and definitely and probably not at all after WrestleMania for a while. But to answer your question, I thought it was fine. It's like, so here's where I left. Here's where I left off at Fastlane. Where I left off at Fastlane was, okay, that was a good match, but where do they go with this? Like everyone is saying the same thing. This isn't going to work. We are done if you keep doing this. And they even did it in sort of a shoddy way right at the very end there. Then on Raw, I feel like it just sold that story even more, that the match works. We've never like I don't have any problems with Roman in a match. I don't have like I think for the most part, except the very end of Fastlane, for the most part he sells really well. He and people can do the whole however many moves of doom. He's shown constant improvement in that area. He's shown emotion. I really feel like the only place he falls down is from a creative perspective, where he doesn't say, "Hey, I'll go out and say what I want to say. Is there any particular thing you want me to touch on, and I'll just slide it in." He's just not comfortable enough to do that, and until he is, he's never going to be the major baby face that you want him to be. That's love him or hate him. That's what Cena does. Cena can take what the crowd's giving him and turn it into something. He can turn boos into a pop. And I've seen him do it, like the heel turn promo that you talked about, that you bring up a lot. That's a prime example of John Cena's ability to control a crowd who wants to rebel on him so hard, but they can't help but pop at certain things he does and says. But anyway, I know that was a really long, rambling thing like I always do. But I thought it was fine, but it kind of confirmed to me, see, WWE, do you hear who they're cheering for? Do you hear who they're booing? Roman Reigns is not the babyface. He's not the babyface.
I have a few problems with the ending of Raw.
Go ahead.
Not physically speaking, but I don't even know how to classify it. But I guess in terms of the script, for lack of a better term, because words are failing me right now. I think it's something that, it has to be done. You have your heel guy attack the face guy before the biggest event of the year. Okay. And you bludgeon them and then you send them to the hospital. Sure. That's got to happen. But all the events during the year, all the different matches you had, Elimination Chamber, Hell in a Cell, Last Man Standing, this is where you decide to use blood? Do you not know the fans behind the announcers are going to be recording the attack on their cell phone? So they're clearly going to see Byron Saxton pass the blood to Roman Reigns?
And that's going to just
does Roman Reigns
solidify
not know
the hate
enough?
For Saxton even more?
Does Roman Reigns not know enough to just have the blood all over his hands and then to his face? Like, because his hands were covered. And then it was on his face. And on his face, like on top of his nose, not like under his nose or anything. So like it really looked weird to the point where I didn't see obviously on TV, you don't see Saxton, and maybe you could, maybe I just didn't see it.
No, you couldn't.
Saxton.
You couldn't.
Okay. He passed Roman Reigns the fake blood or so, whatever. And I turned to my dad, I said, that can't be real. And my dad's like, well, why not? I'm like, because it's all over Roman Reigns' hands. And it's not like really anywhere else. So it looked bad if you were like, kind of like, if you're me, I'm kind of looking to see if it was a blade job or if it was whatever. I don't really even remember another point in time ever, except maybe when the Brood used to do it on people standing in the ring where fake blood was used. It's always been like a razor job as far as I remember. And I was probably fooled enough to think it was maybe something else at one particular time. But this looked flat out obvious to me. Now, here's where it really comes down to it for me, why it's not working. One, the Roman Reigns is not the babyface. He's a face. He's not the babyface, like you said. And like I said on my my video that's on my YouTube channel, cheap plug.
Yep. In the description.
And two, the crowd doesn't want Roman to win. And three, you're still pushing him like this underdog, overcoming odds. Stop. He's a big boy. He's 6 foot, whatever. He's strong. He's not Gilbert. He's not Hornswoggle. He doesn't need to overcome 6 million odds because of his weight and size and standing in the world. He's a big guy. Let him fight for it. If he fought for everything to begin with, first of all, people were going nuts for him almost winning the Royal Rumble on the year that Batista won it. Flash forward a year later, people hate him because he wasn't Daniel Bryan in that match. So now people are looking for reasons to hate him. Now you're going to put him against Triple H. And what's the common factor in the way WWE's booking has been lately, leading up to WrestleMania? the Dudleys, Shane McMahon, everything is Attitude Era. So how is the babyface that people are already booing going to be perceived by 100,000 people fighting the guy that everyone loves from the Attitude Era? How?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's like 3 people you remember from the Attitude Era as like the movers and shakers. Well, 4. There's 4 people, and it's DX, which is 2 of them, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's it.
Steve Blackman. The Lethal Weapon.
Steve Blackman. The Lethal
You
Weapon.
put Steve Blackman in the ring with Roman Reigns, more people are cheering for Steve Blackman.
Well, yeah.
And this isn't
but
to toot my own
kind of
horn.
the point. More people are
this
cheering
isn't
everybody.
to my own horn. This is the point of the where Roman Reigns is. Roman Reigns got cheered somewhere in between mid-December and beginning of January. And then you put him in a match where he has to overcome odds again. And no one wanted to see him overcome those odds. And now you're putting him in a match with Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar, who people legitimately love. People are not rooting for Roman Reigns. And he wins that match. Now he's going to be against one of the best in the Attitude Era that people love and cheer for every time he comes out, heel or not. And people are not going to be cheering for Roman Reigns. You need some sort of quadruple mega heel turn swerve, Duke, for Roman Reigns to come out of that match in WrestleMania with the title and either get legitimate heel heat or be cheered.
I've got what I feel like is possibly a blueprint for that, and it's one of those where maybe he's not the babyface, but he's something. But it's one of those things where he'll initially be booed, and then people will understand the importance of what he just did, and they'll cheer him. But it involves him losing at WrestleMania. So
And I don't think that's going to happen.
He can't be the champ and this work. It can't.
But if he's not the champ and he's going to get another shot at the title, then he's overcoming another hurdle. And I just think people are sick of that already. Let him have the title and let him be a monster. Let him destroy people, even as a face. Let him be untouchable.
Well, I guess actually I do have it listed here. I have 2 scenarios, one with him as champ, one with him without, and it's sort of telling the same story, but there's a little nuance here and there to shift things. So yeah, I actually do have it listed where he can be champ for one of these scenarios that I created. So and it's easy.
Well, why don't we discuss the road to WrestleMania now, and beginning with the heavyweight title. What we obviously know the match is Triple H versus Roman Reigns. So what are your 2 scenarios here?
They're actually more the scenarios. I didn't write anything for that. I just wrote scenarios for Shane versus Taker.
Oh, I thought you said Triple H. You had one where Roman Reigns wins, one where Roman Reigns loses.
I do.
Okay.
But
yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Right. Has nothing to do with their, like, what I have written down has nothing to do with their actual match. I just don't think there's anything you can do within their match that's going to make people boo Triple H and make people cheer Roman. There's one thing I thought of that you could do where you see, I just don't know. I don't know how Roman wins and people are happy about it. And you can take that heat and cross it over into McMahon versus or Shane versus Taker, but that would require
the main event.
That was what I was going to say. That would require that match to be last, which there are a lot of reasons why that match actually should be last. You know, traditionally you want the championship match last. However, there are several significant there's storyline reasons why it would be better for Shane Taker to be last, and there's also atmosphere reasons, because the later it is in the pay-per-view, especially if the dome's going to be open or whatever, which I would assume it's going to be, if the dome's going to be open, the later it is, the better it is for Undertaker's entrance. We saw that last year. It was weird having this, ethereal, just brooding entrance in broad daylight. It lost so much from not being dark. You know, I mean, it's still the Undertaker, but the whole point is it's supposed to be freaking dark, and it was very, very, very much light out during his entrance. So anyway, to me that helps his entrance, but that's a side note. But anyway, I just don't know. I have nothing to make this match work with Roman winning.
Right.
And
here's the
and if Roman does win, I feel like the only way Roman winning works is if he's involved in Shane versus Taker, which would make the most sense if Shane versus Taker comes after the title match.
Here's where I feel like WWE booked themselves into a corner months ago.
Yeah.
Months and months ago. I think that this match, which will be the last match of the pay-per-view because of the way they're emphasizing everything on it, I think that it's going to be somewhat of a cluster Eva-Marie in the fact that it's one-on-one, but I think a la Triple H and Sting, where multiple people came down and caused interference and chaos, I think Roman Reigns' family is going to be involved. I think Triple H's buddies are going to be involved, whether it's DX or whether it's Evolution or whether it's, just Stephanie and, whatever, Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble. Let's just put them in there as well. I think it's going to be more of Roman Reigns overcoming odds and then Roman Reigns' family bailing him out and then Roman Reigns hitting the Superman punch spear combination or whatever and getting the pin because of the chaos or whatever. Unfortunately, I see it that way. It's probably, I fair to guess it's not going to be that way. That's the way I get the feeling how it's going to be booked. And Triple H wins, people cheer, but I don't think there's much for Triple H after this because what is he going to hold the title into SummerSlam? We're going to have...
No, it doesn't make sense for him to hold the title. It doesn't.
Right.
And he
it
knows
really
it
has
doesn't
that
make
feel
sense.
of like The Rock winning at Royal Rumble against CM Punk to give it back to John Cena at WrestleMania. Not to say that they're trading titles, but that's what the story is. And that's what the story is going to be. Roman Reigns loses it because of, shenanigans by the Authority, by his boss, and then he gets it back after overcoming another obstacle. And that's basically, I said it 500 times because it feels like it's been done for 500 storylines.
Right.
And that's basically it. But
well,
yeah.
And the other thing, the one hole I'll punch in what you said is there has been, especially this week, especially Raw and even on SmackDown tonight with the opening, there is a sense of Triple H saying it's me versus you. It's just us. And I don't, as much as it seems like you have to have some sort of shenanigans to make it work, it seems to me like they're really billing this as, all right, no outside help. I am going to find a way to put him over. But I just don't. After Raw, how do you do it? Explain. Like
I think that
you're making him brutalize someone, and no one's sympathetic for the guy, and you keep trying to play him as this sympathetic character, and he's not.
I think the WWE blueprint for things like this, where I'm talking about causing the chaos with 1 million people entering the ring, and then the face winning instead of the heel because of all the turmoil. I think that's a WWE staple blueprint from when you want to confuse the fans to enjoying something rather than hating something. Where if Roman Reigns wins on his own, fans boo, fans riot, fans cancel the WWE network or whatever they want to do on Twitter. But if you had Dean Ambrose out there, who the fans love, interjecting himself and helping Roman Reigns win, then half the fans are still cheering for Dean Ambrose being out there at the time Roman Reigns wins. And, they're just happy that Ambrose was really the one that helped them do it.
All right.
You know what I mean?
How about this? Let me give you one of my scenarios for Shane versus Taker that you can still have and this is with Roman winning, and maybe this gets him over. Maybe. So, at some point before the pay-per-view, or maybe, they do a backstage segment or, something that, I don't know, whatever. Somehow at some point maybe Roman and Shane are in the same place at the same time, something where it crosses their storylines for a moment, and Triple H or Stephanie, someone makes a comment of, you can win the title all you want, we're still going to run the place. How do you expect Shane to take down the Undertaker? Okay, something to that effect, something where it's a useless endeavor for him. He's going to get the title, and then they're just going to destroy him, like they've done every other time, is the implication. Okay? So, with that, you have the Shane Taker match, and you have, let's see. So with Shane and Taker down at some point, they've just beat each other up because they can make that work in this match. You have Reigns come to the ring and spear Taker because he wants to make sure, and that's almost a heel turn, honestly. I mean, who's going to cheer him spearing Taker, right? So he spears Taker. Taker's on the ground. Reigns is getting all the boos in the world, and then he, while he just kind of stands there and stares at Taker, and then he turns to look at Shane. He picks Shane up and he puts him on Taker. 1, 2, 3. Shane wins. Shane is now in control of Raw. People will freak out because Shane won. It protects Taker. It kind of protects everyone involved. It protects Taker, and then he, it gives. Obviously, people are going to cheer Shane winning because it's a regime change. It's something new, what's old is new again, but something we haven't seen in a while from a guy we haven't seen in 15 years. How is this going to work out? Oh, by the way, Roman Reigns is attached to that. So, boo him all you want, but from a storyline perspective, he's the reason this happened.
So your ending of Royal Rumble is Undertaker taking his second loss? Of WrestleMania, sorry. Is Undertaker taking his second loss?
I know. That's the problem with it. Who wants to see Taker lose, and who would cheer him? However, let me get to the end of his match. So they have their match. He wins through maybe without any shenanigans. He just wins clean after a really hard fought match, and you have the Authority just freaking out, and you have Shane come out to congratulate him, and then dong. Or bong, whatever you want to say. Then you have the Undertaker's gong sound. Lights go out. Lights come back up. Taker's in the ring with Reigns. And now you've got a significant storyline with all kinds of built-in heat. And everybody wants to see that match.
And whether Roman Reigns has to overcome the fact that he has to beat the dead man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you say it, but it really comes down to, after he's beaten Triple H, he's beaten someone from the Attitude Era now, right? So he's kind of gotten over that hurdle of, from a storyline perspective, you're not as good as those guys back in the day when everyone loved wrestling. Now he's beaten one of those guys, and he's beaten him clean. The guy pulled his sledgehammer out at one time, and Reigns still wins it, okay? So that's how you do that, and then you have Taker come in, and Shane freaks out and just kind of falls out of the ring, and Reigns and Taker, just sort of stare each other down, or maybe they even start laying into each other, and you have a pullback, and so now it's like, well, there's so many questions that leaves, and everyone wants to see that fight at that point. I think, whether he's babyface or heel, now he's in that realm of Taker, Brock. He's beaten Triple H. So now it doesn't matter if they cheer him or boo him, because now he's on that level where it sort of transcends babyface or heel, which is kind of where we've been booking him for a while.
It's the fans that didn't watch the product or buy stuff.
What's that?
It still does matter. It still does matter if they cheer or boo.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm saying for his character, People are going to buy his stuff because now he's in a feud with the freaking Undertaker and he beat Triple H.
That didn't really work for Maven.
Okay. I don't know how that's the same.
Because Maven beat the Undertaker, so it didn't work for him.
But you're taking something in a vacuum and not taking the whole picture. So,
well, I mean,
anyway,
being a one off too, and they didn't even have him. I mean, I'm just saying that I don't think that it's WrestleMania. I don't think it's going to end that way. It could be a way that for fans to get into hating Roman Reigns if they're an Undertaker fan, or liking Roman Reigns if they're kind of done with the Undertaker. Because there's certainly a lot of fans who just don't want to see Undertaker anymore after the last several years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
showing up
also liking him because he's attached to Shane McMahon at that point, who is the regime change. So he sort of becomes the enforcer, enforcer champion for Shane, and Shane occasionally says, "Yeah, you should." You know, Shane sort of plays the neutral card of, "Yeah, you should really give this guy a shot. He's you know, he's worth your time. He's worth he's something."
But at the fact
they
that
want
they
to see this, the
like
fans
that,
want to see this.
But at the point where they have to say things like that, it really just like it encourages the point that no one likes them. You know what I mean? It's just like, well, then now if you're going to be trendy, you're going to jump on the "I even hate him more now" bandwagon because they're really forcing me to like them if they're going to make people tell me to like them and give them a shot, kind of thing. And that's the whole problem with Roman Reigns right now.
No, I was saying
that.
he should give other. No, you misunderstood what I was saying. I wasn't saying Shane needs to tell the fans that. I was saying Shane and Roman. You know, Roman's like, "Why do I need to give this guy a title shot?" And Shane is constantly. It's not like the Authority where, you know, they're putting Roman in situations that he has to overcome. It's, hey, I get that you're the big deal now, but you need to give this guy a shot at being the big deal. Shane is basically reinforcing that, hey, you're a champion, be a fighting is basically teaching him how to be the proper champion. That's how that relationship works, where you've got Roman sort of protecting Shane, but you have Shane who says, hey, I appreciate what you do for me, but you need to get out there and work your butt off. Sort of, putting it out there that, hey, this guy's going to be a fighting champion whether he wants to or not, type thing. And it's not him overcoming things. You finally
overcame all the odds, Roman. Now
you're the guy, but that doesn't mean it targets off your back, and that doesn't mean you don't give people opportunities, because that's what we're all about around here, is giving people opportunities. So could be one of the taglines. But anyway, I don't know. I just feel like if you attach him to Shane and Shane is taking over, you're winning. If he has a feud, no matter how long it is, with the Undertaker, I think he's starting to get over at that point, and Undertaker can obviously give him the rub, and I don't think anyone's going to have that much of a problem with it at that point. And that,
I think that the best thing to sum up here is the fact that if you look at the last 4 pay-per-views, you had, Rock winning, you had Cena winning, you had Daniel Bryan winning, and then last year you had Seth Rollins interject himself in a match to win for like a big never been done moment in a match, cashing in the briefcase. You've had big moments from big time players, and I don't want to call Rollins a big time player, but that moment was special. And then you get to this match and it's just like, well, unless we're like really stretching the script of what we think could happen, I just don't see a way either one of these two wins. And it's like your go home happy WrestleMania moment, either in the booking eyes or in the fans' eyes. And I think that's kind of the point with our problems with Roman Reigns winning at Fastlane and not Dean Ambrose, like you
to me,
persuaded me to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, to me, that's another reason why the match probably shouldn't go on last. If they're smart booking,
I mean, what are you even saying to the fans at that point if you don't have that match last at WrestleMania? Your champion's worthless.
This exact thing has happened before, though.
You've had 2 championship matches at that time, and you've had Cena versus Rock. If they had Austin versus HBK this year, then that match could be last. But in the year where the championship match wasn't last, I think it was CM Punk and Jericho. I forget who it was, but but the main event was Rock versus Cena. And then every year after that and before it was kind of for a title, one of the two.
Is Shane like recently returning Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker not close enough to Rock versus Cena?
Can I say that I don't expect Shane McMahon to wrestle? I expect the proxy somehow.
That's another scenario.
Or Undertaker
That's another
wrestling for
down.
Shane.
Yeah, the very first thing I wrote was, is this a temporary angle?
That's kind of like why I don't want to really speculate too much on Shane McMahon beating Undertaker, because I don't think it's going to be Undertaker wrestling for Shane McMahon.
Yeah, see, that would be interesting, and we'll find out on
somebody
Raw.
else. And Vince McMahon having to struggle to find somebody else. Not like it's a contracted match. So if Undertaker says, I'm going to be wrestling for Shane McMahon, like Vince is like, oh, I've got to find somebody now. Wait. It's not contracted. You own the company, dude. But he's going to go find his Umaga or Bobby Lashley or whatever and put Trump's hair on the line at the same time. But it would have been actually better if it was Undertaker versus Triple H for the stake of the company. You know what I mean?
That would have been more relevant.
Yeah, it would have been more relevant. Hey, you know what? Hey, listen, there's plenty of Raws and SmackDown before WrestleMania. Maybe Triple H loses the title to, like, I don't know, Dean Ambrose.
Heath Slater.
God, now, can we talk about that for a second?
Go.
And this is in all seriousness. If somebody who's not main event worthy in people's eyes, but is respected the hell out of and people are entertained by them and they want to see them, if they won the title, what kind of reaction would they get in the main event of WrestleMania? And we could take Heath Slater as the example.
I think a hero's welcome, because it's like,
I don't
who
think
are
it matters.
you? But holy crap.
Yeah, I mean,
talk about it, like, just throw a curveball and just watch it, just flourish. I mean, I could see that being, I could see that being huge. It's happened in the past.
They had some sort of huge wild card happen at Royal Rumble where they actually pulled a name from a tumbler and said, this guy is going to win the Royal Rumble. And they open it up and it's like Curtis Axel. Do the fans go nuts if Curtis Axel wins that Royal Rumble and becomes champion? Or do they boo and be like, how the hell do they give him the title? Cancel WWE Network. And my point being, is it only specific wrestlers winning that piss the majority of the fans off?
It's people that CM Punk ran down in his shoot interview.
So,
period.
You really think that?
I 100% think that, because people, it's
because he did run down Roman Reigns by him not being Chris Hero.
Right, exactly.
And he didn't really, yeah.
He ran down He ran down Roman Reigns. He ran down, who else? Ryback, which I gotta admit, I'm on board with that one.
He ran down Triple H, but Triple H is in like a legendary status. I don't think he's going to persuade people's mind.
Well, it's still after every, after Royal Rumble, it's like, oh, Triple H burying people again, blah blah blah.
Well, that's
it's just
true.
like,
yeah, you're right.
It's just like, what?
You always get that.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, I don't like, what? It's just like it was like the most obvious thing to do for the story was have Triple H win, have the authority, have the title for a little bit. It just made sense.
Yeah, it did. Okay. All right. So let's move on here a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
And just go down the road to WrestleMania like we were doing with the heavyweight title. Might as well. It's topical.
Yeah.
Let's start with the women, though, as a change of pace. In this segment, we're going to just speculate quickly based on what's been happening so far in the week after Fastlane, and just try to figure out where they're going to go for who's going to be in the match at WrestleMania.
Okay. I shout out to Charlotte for nearly taking the best heel on the roster away from Stephanie McMahon on Monday night, by the way, coming out in basically Bree's ring gear sized for her. Unbefreaking-leavable. That was whoever had that choice, you're a genius. Whoever made that decision, you're a freaking genius. That was unreal. And her promo was really good too. But I mean, it seems to me, I mean, the way they're booking it currently is it's going to be Charlotte versus either Sasha or Becky.
Right, because they have a match on Raw for the
Correct. And Becky didn't even have. Becky was against what, Natalia on Natalia on SmackDown. So I foresee them not wrestling each other much until they've accept, not a lot of seeing it over. At least I hope not seeing it over and over and over and over again. And I think Sasha Charlotte makes you money, gets you buys, and it really sells the whole Divas Revolution. But man, I hate to see, as a fan of her, I hate to see Becky left in the dust. And I feel like she's done some of her best work in recent months, and she had a really good push, and it seemed like they were going into a triple threat type situation. So I wouldn't mind seeing that, but at the same time, triple threats are kind of, they can be good. They can be, I mean, it's really just a series of on again, off again, singles matches all contained within one match, as opposed to actually being, three people fighting each other all at once. So I don't know. Sasha versus Charlotte seems like the obvious thing that, fans were chanting, we want Sasha for so long. And maybe WWE just straight up said, okie dokie, let's do it. So I would expect that to be the match. If not, the backup would be the triple threat. So,
I think we're getting a triple threat match. I think something's going to happen in that match where
screwballing.
Charlotte attacks them both, or Charlotte attacks one, causing the other one to win technically, and then the other one's going to have an issue, and then they're going to have a rematch on SmackDown, and then the opposite's going to happen, and then it's just going to be announced by some anonymous backstage person where this just in, Charlotte will have to defend her title against both. I feel like that's the thing to do at WrestleMania, because even if it's 4 hours, there are still limited spots. And I think WWE has been going this direction since the Divas Revolution, because who are the three people that debuted? Right. Charlotte, Becky, Sasha. Who are the three people that are going to be in the WrestleMania match? Charlotte, Becky, Sasha.
So they had the long play in place. They just didn't. They obviously didn't fully know how to get there, and then injuries got in the way of a lot of stuff too. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit.
And if they didn't even have the long play, I think that I think they gave us Bree, Charlotte. It was twofold. One, it was because Daniel Bryan's retiring and Bree's probably going to go leave and have a family, like they're alluding to every single time they talk.
Right.
And two, it was to have Charlotte not fight one of the two, so that when they do have it at WrestleMania, then it's not like a repeated match.
Yeah, which is great that they're protecting them like that.
Yeah,
because we're so pissed about it happening everywhere else. So.
But in having the triple threat match at WrestleMania, we're going to get Charlotte versus Becky non-title, Charlotte versus Sasha non-title, Sasha versus Becky. We're going to get those matches, and not necessarily bad. We're going to get those matches in between now and WrestleMania. And then at WrestleMania, we're going to see them all in the ring at the same time. And it might still be sort of like we didn't see this particular match per se, but we've seen every combination of these competitors, and maybe it's not so much. And hopefully they give them at least 20 minutes, and I think they would. And that's, again, speculation that it's going to be a triple threat match. But I think it brings the Divas Revolution full circle. And I think you can stop with all the teammate stuff after WrestleMania.
And it introduces Bayley the next night too, by the way.
If it introduces Bayley the next night, who even knows?
It will.
I'm not even convinced that your top people are coming after WrestleMania, that they still won't be down there for as long as they're going to be down there. I can't convince myself, and this is not a knock on Bayley, this is a knock on typical WWE fan. I can't get myself convinced that people are going to care about certain people if they hit the main roster,
because she's not hot enough or something like that.
I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thinking more of WWE fans going, "Oh, another diva, yay!" Kind of like that. I'm still in that kind of mode.
Yeah, like I don't know. We'll see.
They don't care. And if Finn Balor came out, fans would cheer, but fans don't really know who Finn Balor is.
I
I mean,
think
Neville
people
didn't
there.
get.
I think there are enough trimmers from Sasha versus Bailey 1 and 2 that everyone felt it. Everyone in the and I think that's why we want Sasha was a thing, because they wanted that quality of match and they weren't getting that quality of match. Even if some of their hate was misdirected to people like Naomi, in my opinion, but I'm still not on that train at all. Don't know that I ever will be, but yeah, I really think that's where you got it from. Was, man, like, can we have this? Can we have exciting storytelling in ladies matches like this?
And the same thing with Finn Balor. If he comes up, it's like, a lot of people care about it, but then again, a lot of people are just gonna be like,
that's the one I'm worried about more. I'm not worried about Bailey. I see that going over and everyone being like, yes, we get it, we get it a third time, and we get it in front of tens of thousands of people.
If I'd be convinced about it more is if I heard, hey, we want some Bailey chants during Raw.
Yeah,
I would be dead convinced that it's going to happen if I heard chants like that during Raw. And I very rarely hear an NXT type chant that's not just NXT.
Right.
When it's on the main roster.
Right. But we did hear that recently, so that's significant. But yeah, I would love to see that, and I know I bunny trailed this, but yeah, Charlotte's doing some of her best work as a heel on the mic, and now that they've made Rick shut up, it's gone over even better. Yeah. The match wasn't great at Fastlane, but the message I sent you was, I feel like Charlotte is having to, after Charlotte has worked her butt off to become a great wrestler, an extremely good wrestler, I'll say. I feel like she had to work down to Brie, because Brie's just never been that convincing as a wrestler, or on the mic, or just kind of anywhere but Total Divas. You see her personality. You don't see that on wrestling TV. But yeah, I felt like she was having to work down to her. Whereas when Charlotte took the title off of Nikki, that was a knockdown, drag out. Seemed like a shoot fight. I mean, that was serious. That was awesome. And yeah, the finish was weird. Like you've pointed out, work a body part, and then that person doesn't have to overcome that body part. They use that body part.
You want to make a 5-star match a 1-star match, in my book, personally, is you have the 5-star match, and then you have like a faking of a leg injury or a working of the body part over for that not even to be a factor in the ending. That's like how you make like the most phenomenal match, and that's my opinion. That's my
it's valid. It's valid. I mean, why? I mean, back in the day, like they've brought back in working a body part. Like that was something that disappeared for a while. But back in the day, when you worked a body part, someone had to all of a sudden have a new finisher or something like that. I mean, listen, they had to have a variation.
The figure eight, then let Charlotte win on a pin. If they're going to take out the figure eight, let Charlotte win some other way, bow to the queen or whatever. They're not letting her do that,
or some sort of arm-based submission, something that doesn't rely on her legs. Yeah, I mean that completely relies on her legs, and but anyway, that's our side. That's one of our many side notes. But yeah.
All right. So
yeah, Divas title.
You have Sasha. I have triple threat, but you have yes, I can see triple threat. I have yes, I can see Sasha. So we're kind of like
sure, right? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so it's kind of like we're betting red and black, and then 00 is gonna show up, and it's gonna be Karen. So moving on, let's do tag teams here real quick.
I have no idea.
Y2AJ, they really pumped that team up today as going after New Day.
I know,
out of nowhere.
That's dumb. That's so dumb. Like
it's so dumb, and they're still like they briefly mentioned League of Nations. League of Nations had zero interaction with them since the pay-per-view. They briefly mentioned League of Nations, and then Morrow and everybody were selling at Y2J as having their WrestleMania moment by walking out with the tag team titles. So
I think that will go down as one of the worst booking decisions in WWE history if it happens. In my opinion,
I'm not. If it happens, let's have that conversation, because I'm not in the same boat as you, but. like
I
I have a
mean,
life raft on so I can jump into it if I want to. So if it does happen, let's make that a topic of conversation. But word association, really quick. Tag team match at WrestleMania. Who's fighting New Day?
the Dudleys.
It's a butterfly, not the Dudleys. Sting Blot is a butterfly.
Oh crap.
So the Dudleys
Now I'm a
and
psycho.
okay, because the Dudleys fought a singles match against the Usos tonight on SmackDown, which normally means you're going to get the opposite singles match one other day,
Sure.
leading up to a tag team match. But we said this before we went on the air. It's 48 days to WrestleMania. That's
Right.
more time than normal pay-per-view to pay-per-view booking. So we can see feuds stop and new feuds start in the next couple of weeks and not affect WrestleMania, but be a whole different change of perspective as far as where they're going.
I think you
So
can. I think with the Dudleys suddenly turning heel and it actually being real and legitimate and like they're using like real stuff. You think we're a nostalgia act. That's really cool. It's very cool. That's how you do wrestling and make it believable. Is you take stuff that's real life and you would insert it into the story and apply emotion to it. So it's a legitimate heel turn for them, and I think you could actually pull off an official what? An official baby tape. Wow, I've lost my words. You could pull off an official babyface turn for the New Day at WrestleMania, and people would go with it because no one wants to. You could have the New Day put the Dudleys through tables since the Dudleys don't want to use tables anymore, and then come out and do the promo like they did after TLC, after that really good match. And this time they don't, rub it in anyone. Well, if they rub it in someone's face, they're rubbing it in heels' faces. They're not rubbing it in baby faces' faces. See what I mean?
I think I like New Day where they are though. I think their dynamic fits perfectly where they are, and you can still have a heel versus heel match. I kind of like that dynamic when they pull it out sometimes too. I think you interject a little comedy into it, and I think it's very entertaining. And I think the Dudleys versus New Day would be a good match. But again, it being WrestleMania, Duke, I can't take my eyes off the fact that you created 2 new tag teams within the last 2 weeks: Jericho and Styles, Goldust and R-Truth, and that's coming. And then you have the Lucha Dragons, and then you have the Usos, and then you have the Dudleys and the New Day and the Social Outcasts. I can't get my mind out of the fact that there's not going to be like an 8 tag team gauntlet match or something stupid like that just to put everyone into a WrestleMania spot.
Well, I tell you what, if they wanted people to tune in to tag team, like if they actually cared and wanted people to tune in to tag team action, they would do a match like that. But the the go home Raw, they introduced someone from NXT, like Enzo and Cass, or what? Everybody keeps waiting for Enzo and Cass to show
Do you
up.
want to
Give them
an
Enzo.
absolutely
Give them Enzo
insane
and Cass.
Angry Larry idea from the House of Vince Russo?
What you got?
In the last taping before WrestleMania for NXT, you have a 4-way tag team match, winner going to WrestleMania. So
Yeah.
Gable and Jordan win. Okay?
That's not even. I mean, that's not even crazy. That's.
Hey, let me finish.
Oh,
Gable and Jordan win, right?
sure.
Gable and Jordan move on to the WrestleMania pre-show where it's an 8-team tag team match. The winner facing New Day later on in the main pay-per-view. So you take all the outcasts, your Darren Youngs and Damian Sandows and your Heath Slaters and Adam Roses or whatever, and they're all in that match with the Dudleys and whoever else. And then they'll fight the New Day later on. And let it be.
I think I think that's cool, but I think American Alpha, even with having a name now and not wearing colors that match their name, I don't think they get caught up for Mania.
Listen,
I think if anybody gets caught up, it would be Enzo and Cass. I don't care who
the tag team is, but the concept of a tag team coming out of NXT to fight on the pre-show in that tag team match that's twice the size of the one they were in.
Oh, sure.
With the main roster guys, with the winner moving on to fight New Day. And let it be Enzo and Cass. I don't care. They win the NXT 4-way tag team match. They win the 8-man tag team match on the pre-show. And then they go on and face the New Day at in WrestleMania, but
Well,
you know,
and I will say, if you do that, or like if you introduce someone from NXT right before WrestleMania, and they end up in the match, I think they need to go over. Like I think they need to make that kind of impact, and it be, see, NXT takes this stuff seriously, and it's easy cross promotion because then people are like, holy crap, what's going on in NXT?
It's the same concept as SmackDown going over on Raw. It's like you have one main show, you don't want to put the main show down on the other show. And I don't think, like, you know, I think
that's
as a
not what I
fan-
mean. But that's not what I
No,
mean.
but
I mean,
it kind of is. If they're going over on the main roster talent, and then you're saying they take it seriously, then it's like, well,
I'm not
why would
saying it
WWE
gets said that they. I'm saying fans
Okay.
view it as, wow, who are
well,
these
that's
guys?
still basically the same thing as them saying it. Why would they want the fans thinking that they don't take things seriously as their other product? I mean, I understand what you mean technically, that they take people from NXT seriously, not the style, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I mean. And I just mean it gives people a reason to kind
Right.
of flip. You know, if they haven't picked up on NXT, check it out, because who knows? Because the next night, some people are going to be showing up from NXT.
And
Whoever it is, some people are going to be showing up. You know, so.
And I don't necessarily know if it's, you know, it's the best time to debut people, WrestleMania. I really don't think that's the time. But hey, if we're gonna have a tag team turmoil mixer match or whatever, might as well at least give one shot to an unknown team.
Well, I mean,
and
you
just
did it.
introduce
You
them
did
and
it
just
with
gauge
Itami
fan
last
reaction.
year.
What's that?
You did it with Itami last year, so with Hideo. So.
Oh, Hideo Itami was in the Battle Royal. You're right.
Yeah. So.
You're right. You know what? I totally forgot about that guy.
Yeah.
Like, just totally forgot about.
I think that's very
You're
intentional.
Right. Yeah. It was. He was forgot. Well, it's intentional because he's really might be really seriously hurt still. So
I thought
he's not. Last I heard.
Oh, really? That sucks. Speaking of someone who's just quick side note, extremely quick side note. Speaking of someone who may not be as injured as you think they are, did you know that people were reporting last month that Seth Rollins was actually listed for the Royal Rumble?
I did not know that.
He was on a list of 5 names that were possible for the Royal Rumble. So potentially, I mean, it's speculation, but potentially that means he's already cleared and he's made a Cena-like recovery. So who knows? Maybe that maybe that gets factored into all this WrestleMania madness at some point.
Yeah, I don't want to go into it too much, but
no. I was just throwing that out there.
The rhetorical question thought in my mind is, if Seth Rollins helps Roman Reigns, do the fans cheer?
If Seth Rollins comes back, the fans cheer.
It was rhetorical.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm going to give my answer then, too. I think that they only cheered Roman Reigns primarily from the heart when anything was hinted of the Shield.
Correct.
Teaming with Dean Ambrose, them doing Shield moves.
Right.
Or the few times Seth Rollins teamed up with them, you know, as like a
that's when he was
heel.
Well, that's when he was booked correctly. He was booked as a monster, not as someone you needed to feel sorry for.
So I think that's the only way that, like I said, in the chaos, Dean Ambrose comes out to help Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose comes out to help Roman Reigns. HBK takes out Dean Ambrose with a super kick. Seth Rollins makes his way into the ring and pedigrees Triple H and throws Roman Reigns on top, and I think the fans go nuts.
Holy freaking! If Roman Reigns wins because Triple H got pedigreed, whole mind blown. Like, seriously.
Now you don't have to have Triple H versus Seth Rollins, but you can have Triple H irate at Seth Rollins and making his life hell.
And putting
in the Raws and SmackDowns to come.
And yeah, exactly. And it becomes Seth's faith's turn. And Seth, he has to. Now, you can believe Seth as a sympathetic babyface because he's smaller. He doesn't look like, a giant model. He's scrappy. And so you believe him as a babyface. You can play the sympathetic babyface card with him just like you can with Dean, because they're amazing wrestlers. They're technically just above a lot of the roster, but they're not the biggest guys on the roster. they just have personality in spades and can sell anything you want. I don't mean just like taking a move selling. They can sell anything you want them to sell. So yeah,
So I think for
that could
next
be
week,
huge. So maybe
yeah,
we should
I
just
think for
do a whole
next
show
week,
booking Seth Rollins' return.
maybe we do a little bit of high school thing here, and next week we do a little research on our own and come up with 5 ways each where the fans leave cheering Roman Reigns after he wins the title at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and one of them on both of our list is Seth Rollins returns.
Not just Seth Rollins' return, but Shield reunites.
Yeah, essentially a Shield. Yeah, that's
well.
actually that was something on my notes was that you have some sort of a Shield reunion, whether where they're still in, they're in their singles tier as they are now, and they keep moving it up. So it's not like they go for the tag championships or anything like that. Not to put that down, but they're not trying to do anything lower card. But anyway, we can talk about that later. But yeah,
All right,
where they still continue their
paths. I've had a 3-way match for the Divas title at WrestleMania. I've had a tag team turmoil, whatever you want to call it, gauntlet, many team, fatal 8-way, whatever you want to call it. U.S. title. I see nothing but a ladder match based on Kalisto's spot winning the Slammy against one of the Usos through the ladder.
It makes sense.
And because I'm always trying to find a way to book as many people as you can in WrestleMania. And the Intercontinental title last year for the Intercontinental title ladder match last year was entertaining as hell. So I think that being Kalisto has the U.S. title and did that spot and won that Slammy, I think this year's title match, ladder match for the title, is the U.S. title match. Other than that, I don't see who Kalisto would fight one-on-one.
Yeah, and you can kick off with it too, just like you did with the IC title, and I think everybody will get really happy about that. So
right, and you can just throw everybody you want in there who doesn't have a spot.
All the social outcasts.
Your Ziggler. Well, see, now there's also the Battle Royal, but I haven't heard them mention the Battle Royal. I'm just assuming there's going to be a third annual Andre the Giant Battle Royal. So that's probably where you'll get 3 of the 4 social outcasts.
Yeah, true
and
enough.
Maybe Bo Dallas is in the ladder match, or Axel's in the ladder match, and stuff like that. Match. But you can throw Neville in there. You can throw your Tyler Breeze in there. You can throw your hey, listen, if Kalisto's in there, put Sin Cara in there. He's got nothing else to do, or he'll probably be in the Battle Royal. So
yeah,
say that. But yeah.
So I think that's a perfect thing for the U.S. title. One last bunny trail for me, I promise. That there is still more people. There are now more people talking about there being a Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania again. And I don't know where it's coming from, but like I said, I heard that one guy on a podcast, and now I'm hearing random YouTubers who do a lot of WWE stuff speculate that that's happening. So I don't know if that was said somewhere and I just can't find it, or
I didn't hear it at
what.
all, and I read news up until Tuesday.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Is just like I don't know that it's a thing, but it's
listed as a pay-per-view for this year. So
it is. Well then,
they're going to do a pay-per-view match, WrestleMania Money in the Bank match.
Is King of the Ring though? Is King of the Ring listed? Because you could interchange them. Like you could put King of the Ring.
But there was a network special, and I think it was failed, based on how they booked Barrett afterwards. I don't know if they're going to do another King of the Ring,
which sucks, by the way.
They're going to do a cruiserweight tournament though instead,
which is not bad, by the way.
Right.
That's not a bad thing.
I mean, I'd rather see because they're going to do some sort of Super J Cup tournament where it's going to be lightweights from all over the world who are not contracted to people, other federations that WWE doesn't want to deal with. So you'll have Evolve guys, you'll have WWE guys, you'll have New Japan guys, and you'll have certain Mexican and Japanese and English Ireland federations where they're going to bring in people. And I think I
wouldn't be surprised if Ring of Honor has a contingent there. Because I could see Hunter working in the background to make that relationship as happy as possible.
I think it's been tried once and failed. I think that I know that they met with Lucha Underground.
Interesting.
WWE. TNA met with Lucha Underground too, and Lucha Underground denied TNA, and I think WWE denied Lucha Underground.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I think that Ring of Honor has its own morals and standards, and I think that there's issues there as well with Ring of Honor piggy. But listen, it's wrestling. You never
Yeah,
see
you never
Vince
know.
McMahon hugged Eric Bischoff on the stage once.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, bring up anything because anything can happen. And, Dixie Carter could be in the US title match at WrestleMania and win the freaking title.
That'd be amazing.
I'd pop if, like, it would be the greatest thing ever if Dixie Carter beat Charlotte at WrestleMania. Can we talk about that for like an hour?
No, that would be awful. That would be terrible.
Nah, listen.
No, actually, no. That's actually brilliant. She comes in, she wins the title, she runs back to TNA with it. We need a new title. Women's Wrestling Championship.
Right. And then she
That'd be
shows up
amazing.
3 months later
Take
and
the
then
butterfly
goes
belt with you.
face-to-face with the women's champion, and then they have a match to unify the titles.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Which Dixie Carter wins again, and then she gets inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame the next year.
That's just too Vince Russo for me. So
you're being silly. One last
anyway,
title.
Yeah, I see.
One last title for WrestleMania. Intercontinental title. Kevin Owens is doing a thing right now where I guess he's going to be playing the heel that only Kev could be, where he's going to challenge people who are not around or who are also hurt. Like Dean Ambrose, he challenged him tonight.
Yeah.
He got the Big Show. Now, Big Show lost by countout. God, this doesn't drag out to WrestleMania, does it?
What, where he just keeps getting people counted out?
No, where he fights Big Show.
No.
Over and over, and then WrestleMania.
No.
Who's fighting Kevin Owens for the title?
Well, again, I said Y2AJ was stupid because to me the only person that belongs in that slot is AJ Styles. You want people to buy in. People aren't going to buy in because Jericho and AJ are fighting alongside each other. People are going to buy in and tune in more to WrestleMania because you have the indie darling, schoolyard bully Kevin Owens versus AJ freaking Styles. The best wrestler in the world by a lot of people's estimation. So you want people to tune in. You want to be putting AJ in a title match and not a tag title match, in my opinion.
Can I throw something here at the wall and see if it sticks?
Okay.
Don't know results. I may sound like an idiot if I say this. Samoa Joe beats Sami Zayn and becomes number one contender for Finn Balor's title again. Sami Zayn happens to be at Raw or SmackDown one day and has an interaction with Kevin Owens, gets attacked by Kevin Owens or whatever. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens for the IC title at WrestleMania.
No, see, that's brilliant, but I actually do know something that spoils that for me.
Okay, so I guess I just found out the results. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
You didn't. No, you didn't find out anything. But
I don't even know if they
there's
taped
something
that match yet.
affects. There's something that affects that matchup, and I would see that happening more toward like maybe SummerSlam. Like that's. I feel like that's inevitable. I don't know if it's over a title or if it's just personal again. I think it's better if it's over a title. And I wouldn't mind seeing Kevin Owens hang on to the title all the way through WrestleMania. Have a 5-star match with AJ Styles, but win.
John Cena?
What's that?
Kevin Owens, John Cena?
I don't think. No, I think the IC title was damaged so badly in the past that I don't think you can have the same sort of storyline that Cena had with the US title as you can with the IC title.
Oh, well, let's say Owens wins. Let's say Owens beats Cena.
Oh, okay. And then he moves on to Sami Zayn because he needs a personal
that kind of solidifies the IC title as meaning something again when you have Cena wrestling for it.
That's actually
the US title, in my opinion, has just been dropped to garbage. So let's in a way where US and Intercontinental title after last year's WrestleMania were kind of like equals as the mid-tier title. Even when Ryback won the IC title or whatever, like I didn't think it was like a lower card title. I think it was still like the upper mid card title. But I think when Del Rio beat Cena And then when Kalisto beat Del Rio and they went back and forth, I figured the U.S. title is now more downgraded than the Intercontinental title. Intercontinental title maybe had not
That's
been
fair.
like upgraded because maybe Ryback did bring it down, but it's been Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose, and they're both
They're
favorites.
they're your hottest guys in the company,
Right.
honestly.
So Kevin Owens beats Cena, and then maybe like Cesaro is around. Kevin Owens fights Cesaro, and
Well,
in the interim.
you could have. I mean, we're talking about super Cena here. You could have Owens Cena at WrestleMania. Of course.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Oh well, actually, if you're gonna have a proxy, for Shane,
Cena's the better one.
well, Cena
Undertaker.
Well, it was supposed to be. The match was always supposed to be Cena Undertaker anyway. And if John's ready, they're putting him in that match. They're gonna find some way. He's gonna be Shane's proxy, and the storyline will be, well, Cena's not even cleared yet. I will be, stuff like that.
Do you know who's going to fight Owens at WrestleMania?
No, I wish it was AJ Styles.
Think where it is. Think how many people are going to be there, and who's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys?
Don't make me say the wrong.
Yeah, Jerry Jones. CM Punk.
What?
It has nothing to do with everything else I just said.
I'm like, that's completely unrelated.
CM Punk versus Owens at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. That would be amazing. Don't get me wrong, but it's not gonna happen. So CM Punk isn't gonna get his back surgery and be recovered from it by then.
Is it a back surgery? I thought it was just he was pulling out, and then he just had injuries, and it wasn't going to be surgery.
Oh, well, maybe I'm not caught up.
I heard here. Let me put a little bit of the 0.01% rumor in place here to kind of solidify my thoughts on why I said what I said. I heard he backed out of the fight because he is a little bit hurt. I heard he's like 0-16 in practice. Like he's just not getting it. Like he's just not winning. He's not doing good in practice. And I heard that there was been talks of somebody easing the tensions between the two sides, WWE and CM Punk.
Well, I still think his non-answer a while back, or the thing he said when someone said, would you, if they offered to pay you, blah, 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 would you go back to WWE? And he said, everything's not, it's not always about money. I thought that was an interesting non-answer. I mean, it's an answer, but it's more on the fence really than anything, because he wasn't saying I'll never go back at that point. That wasn't like CM pissed where he's just like, why do people keep asking me this? It was there's ways we can fix it. Like for him to say that in a public manner, even on like Twitter or whatever, that's actually pretty significant, because that's not the type of thing you would hear from him in the past.
I think that, again, we just said Bischoff hugged Vince McMahon on the top of it.
Yeah,
I think that anything could happen. Anything could happen. I want to say 95% he'll never be in the WWE again, but the 5% of me knows that anything can happen.
Well, and there's also, he has been on record of saying that Samoa Joe versus CM Punk at WrestleMania, he'd be all about it.
John Cena tweeted a picture related to CM Punk. Not tweeted, Instagram the picture, whatever he did. He tweeted Instagram the same picture CM Punk uses for his profile on Twitter. The Paul Newman, coach of the Chiefs from Slapshot.
Really?
Yeah. So there was that, and you know how he threw the picture of AJ up there once upon a time. So it made people start talking, but I think, just sometimes I think it's just fun to get people to talk at the same time. CM Punk coming back to the WWE would probably be like such a package deal. He'll probably have like limited TV times, limited matches, stuff like that. He'd be treated like a Jericho, maybe. He comes in, he goes, he comes in, he goes. I bet like negotiations are like, I don't know, Cole Cabana gets his own WWE Network show. gets a podcast published on WWE Network or whatever. Like, the language and stuff.
Yeah, he would want to bring his buddies with him for sure.
Right. I just think there's going to be a lot of like, anything we can do for you, we'll do it. Not to say that you're right or to toot your own horn, but it's a business and we have to do what we have to do sometimes. And Punk versus a lot of people would make money. Punk would make money.
Everyone would make a load of money in that, except the fans.
And it's just like, hey, he chose UFC. He chose us over UFC, just like Brock Lesnar did. It's a hand.
Yeah, it would be a great ego trip for Vince, but
facial hair makes you look weak. Nice beard, pal.
But Vince would. I can see WWE doing whatever they need to do to pull that off if he'll come to the table. But that's the big if. But with John Cena trolling everybody like that, that's interesting.
Time heals all wounds. Bruno Sammartino made it back up with Vince McMahon. There's been a lot of people making back up. There's been a lot of people who've said negative things, been brought together in wrestling for the sake of wrestling. And, if Cena's negotiating that, like Triple H negotiated the Bruno and Vince thing.
Oh, yeah.
Then hey, listen, there's probably more reason that it would happen than it wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if the Chicago camp is talking to the Stanford camp, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I said it just to set it. And listen, I'd love to see Owens and Punk.
That would be unreal. That would be surreal
but that
sure.
means that Punk has to be visible, healthy, and on TV within the next couple of weeks. And if you're saying he's getting back surgery, then maybe now is not the time for that. Maybe,
well, like I said, maybe I'm not up to date. So
listen, I'm not up to date either. I mean, we could have just had Punk could have just fought UFC last night, and I wouldn't have known because I don't watch it. but I'm sure I would have known. But again. So that's pretty much it. I mean, everything's still up in the air, and I think that's the point of the booking with 48 days left to go in WrestleMania. They're not flash forwarding right to what you're going to get at WrestleMania, and that's good because we'd like to see things play out here and there. We don't need to know everything about WrestleMania 48 days away, basically 7 weeks. Yeah. What else you got? Anything?
No, I just looked up Cena's Instagram, and wow, that's really interesting.
But it was like a week ago, wasn't it? What date was that?
Good question. Let's see if it actually tells me. I'm trying to find it. No, it's 5 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's very recent, and that's and that's the weekend, by the way. So if it is, if John is out there mending fences on it, what better time?
John was in Daytona on Sunday doing the car.
Yeah, but it was Saturday.
Saturday? Well, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, who knows?
Who knows? It's fun. It's fun. They left a lot of open for speculation. It's fun to kind of predict what might happen. That's the best part for me. And we'll see where it goes. I mean, if it goes to obvious places, we may not be happy. If it goes to places we don't want it to go, we definitely won't be happy. But if we get like WrestleMania has been in the last few years, a culmination of the better guys, the younger guys, the more popular guys getting their spot, then, it's going to be a fun night for all.
Yeah. Yeah, I've loved it. Thanks for the discussion, and I know I sent us off track a lot, so I apologize for that. I will do better. I had notes, but we kind of went in some different directions, and I couldn't get back to my notes, so I apologize. But with that, we've had a lot of fun talking about it, and if you have any comments, please leave them down below, or definitely follow us on Twitter and shoot us some stuff there. And with that, I'm the Duke. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you. Larry?
Bye, little Sebastian.
No, get off my computer. Come on.
Did we like that? Because I don't know.
I love it.
Do we? Okay, maybe we'll bring it back.
All right.